What's going on, everybody? Jorge Aquino coming to you live and direct right here from the west side of the PHX. Tormenting tarmac, enthusiasts never die. That's the slogan of this podcast, and just might as well write that on my tomb. Date of recording October the 4th, and I'm feeling a little bit spicy tonight for a couple different reasons. First of all, it's the beginning of October. I actually am chilling in the garage, and the garage doors popped open just a little bit, so the air is nice and crispy here in the PHX. The Diamondbacks just won game one of their wild card round against the Brewers. So suck it to any Brewers fans.
No one cares. No one cares.
Go
Dodgers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We have a Dodgers fan on the podcast. I'm going to go ahead and address that gentleman in just a moment. If you recognize that voice, somebody's making a return to the pod, but we're going to go ahead and do this right. First of all, thanks everybody for listening. We've got a couple of guests this evening, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I mean, first person that we'll go ahead and introduce happens to be one of the people that went ahead and put me on the map a little over a year and a half ago. And if this podcast ever goes major, I'll have her to thank along with a couple of others. That happens to be Daddy Clink herself, KRC Auto, Kaitlyn Clink hanging out with us tonight, Mayor of Fuego City, the Queen of Rollers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So it's great to see you, buddy. How are you?
It's great to be here. I'm doing pretty good. I'm in Houston. I'm not in the PHX, but I'm happy to be here.
I know you were literally here for like 2 days. And then
I was there for work. I was like a quick, slid right in, didn't really, just got my stuff done and I was out of there, but I was just there for work. But
it's all good. It's all good. And yes, we are calling you Daddy Clink going forward.
Oh yeah, apparently so. You know what? I'll take it. That's fine.
Hashtag 4 doors, more whores. Let's go. Second other person that happens to be on the podcast tonight happens to be one of automotive media's goats. And I guess I can call him a friend, which is really, really cool. But that happens to be Motor Trend's senior features editor, Mr. Jonny Lieberman. Johnny, what's going on, brother?
Hello. And not only can you call me a friend, I'm going to be stuck in Phoenix for a couple days and all by myself. So you're going to have to have a meal with me or buy me a drink, or I'll buy you a drink or something like that.
I got you on the drink. You tell me when and where, and I'm down 100%.
All right, probably like Saturday night. It sounds like.
Okay.
This Saturday coming up. Yeah. I'm going to be there. Don't even ask. We're filming a big thing and I have to be there on Saturday, and then we don't start filming again until like Wednesday or something, or Tuesday. I can't remember. But anyways, yeah. So I'll be in Phoenix in need of companionship.
I got you, bro. I got you. Well, that's fantastic. But that all being said, it's amazing to see the two of you. The last time Johnny was on, of course, Johnny hung out with me back in April, and then Kaitlyn was back on back in March. And a lot of things have changed over the past few months. By the way, we didn't mention this last time, Kaitlyn, because you hadn't actually officially mentioned it to me. But those of you who probably know by now, Kaitlyn is one of the I guess you could say almost a marketing and media director over at AZ Cycle Auto Parts. So shout out to AZ Cycle. And yeah, Kaitlyn's basically under their employment ship. And I was there out there a couple of months ago driving their 996 turbo before, or excuse me, getting a ride in that 996 turbo before it sold. That thing is wild. But anyways, I just want to give a quick shout out to AZ Cycle, to Fred and Mark and the whole team out there. But that's not what we're going to talk about tonight. Although maybe actually that's not true. Kaitlyn might tell us a couple stories from when she was in Indiana back in August, because that underground Huracan twin turbo is something nasty. But let's kind of start it off, because while Johnny opens that bottle of whiskey, my friend,
it's not happening. This is my friend started a distillery and they sent me some of their first stuff, and I'm sitting there hacking on it with a knife and it's not opening. So
okay, well then that's
it's okay.
Critique number one.
By the time we're done with the podcast in an hour, I'll have it open. So
that's perfectly fine. But that's critique number one. Yep. Not an easy bottle to open. Okay, we know that. That's good to know. But Johnny, I saw that you were out at Rennsport, man. I had a couple buddies out.
Before that, weren't we going to talk about the ST lease deals?
Yeah. So okay. Yes, let's do it.
I was at Rennsport. I can talk all about Rennsport.
No, for sure. Well, I think it's really, really cool to be able to go ahead and talk about the 911 ST thing. I know Kaitlyn wasn't necessarily aware of what was going on, but earlier today, that report came out from several media outlets. And Johnny, I know that you obviously know the know-how and everything going on out there. So my understanding is So actually, let's go ahead and backtrack real quick for those of you who might be living under a rock, not knowing what. Yes, there it is. He finally got it cracked open. Let's
Got some
go.
whiskey
In the building. But for
right.
those of you who might not know, the 911 ST is the 992 iteration. It's basically the 992's 911R. So essentially, it's a GT3 RS, but with a 6-speed manual. So it's, touring a little bit on steroids, is basically the best way to put it. It's lighter than a touring.
So it's the lightest, it's less sound deadening, lightened flywheel, so it's real revvy.
Yeah.
Improved 6-speed manual. It does not have rear steer, which not only makes it quote unquote more pure, whatever that means, but they can put a smaller battery in it because you don't need as much voltage to do things. So that helps to make it lighter as well as be more pure. If you can define what pure means, I'd love to know.
Exactly.
But the big news is that it's $290,000 and you have to buy an $18,000 watch. The dealers are forcing the watch on you. And that's before a single option. That's before ADM. And so to prevent something this valuable, which, you could, if you wanted to, let's in a perfect world, you could buy it tomorrow and then sell it for double what you paid. A lot of dealers are already saying they're going to ask. I know Beverly Hills Porsche's asking 300 over if you're lucky enough to get one of the 1963 allocation. Yeah, 300 over, $290,000 car. They're doing a lease program. So to prevent flipping it tomorrow, if you did not buy a 918, you are only able to lease it from Porsche for a year. So Porsche holds the title. You cannot sell it. You can promise to sell it, but you cannot legally sell it for a year until the lease is up. And I don't really know any details beyond that. Like, will you instantly be able to buy it once the lease is up? Is there another process? Are they taking the cars back? Who knows anything? I have no idea. Now, the reason I was so hot to talk about this is not the first time this has happened. When you two were playing with Pogs or whatever you kids did.
Squish is apparently for Kaitlyn.
There you go. Lexus, when the LFA came out, they did the same thing, but I think it was a 2-year lease. So you could not buy it. And then, ultimately it sort of prevents nothing because as soon as the LFA was off lease, they were worth triple, quadruple. Now they're $1 million. But like, what's the LFA Nürburgring attack worth?
About $1 million plus.
Yeah, so the leases, they do nothing. I don't know what it's for. And then again, the other weird caveat is if you did buy a 918, you can buy an ST and sell it tomorrow. So they're rewarding the 918 special customers who helped them out when they couldn't sell those damn things with the ability. But
those same guys were able to buy the 911R. Because didn't they get a 911? Couldn't they get a 911R allocation when the?
Not only that, they got the turbo exclusive too. So, they're really they really like their 918 buyers, and again, these people will also get first crack at whatever the Mission X is called when they finally build the working model. Which, by the way, probably it's not nearly as far along as people think. You're probably talking like 3 more years. They've barely started development on it.
Wow, that's pretty wild. But.
Yeah, so that's the ST.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Anybody who's listening knows scratching a $290,000 itch of a 911 ST. There's not a lot of us that are going to be able to go ahead and do that, right? But I have a little bit of a small issue with this. And Kaitlyn, I'll let you jump in here in a second because, like, we're trying to stop this flipping culture, right? But then
we are. Wait, why are we trying to stop?
Well, I shouldn't. Let me take that back. I shouldn't say that we're not trying to stop the.
Well, who's we?
Culture,
Define
right?
we. Rich guys are like flip.
But then my whole thing is like drive your car, keep it, enjoy it. That's why Porsche's making this machine so you can enjoy it, not for you to go ahead and buy it and then next day, I just flipped it for 300 grand additional. But then at the same time, the dealerships are the ones that are asking 300 grand over to begin with, and it's a little bit annoying. Well, and then
remember, some are. I talked to my buddy at I always mispronounce his first name, so let me look it up. But the guy at Champion Porsche, the owner. Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. His name is Mitra Mirage. And they're probably getting, because they're the biggest Porsche dealer in the world, is my understanding.
Yeah.
They're getting 5 or 6 ST allocations probably, and maybe more. And he's just going to reward his best customers. So the dudes or dudettes who've been buying, you know, not only like the Dakar and the Sport Classic and stuff like that, but also you know, your daughter's got a Macan and your son's driving a Boxster and the wife's in a Cayenne. You know, you got those 3 lease payments coming in. You got a GT3, you got a GT4 RS coming. You can have an ST. So some dealers are selling it at sticker. So yeah, it's all over the map. I guess Porsche for 12 months wants to prevent flip. They're going to flip. I mean, you know, a year's
happen
like that. These are flip. You know,
it's
so
it's wild.
Yeah. I don't know what the big deal. I think it's just a way to further reward the 918 customers is really what it is. Because I don't think Porsche cares about flipping. Why should they? You know, I mean,
maybe this is them apologizing that their hybrid system or the battery costs like 50 G's to go ahead and replace it. It's like, hey, not that you can't afford 50 G's, but here's an ST.
I'm touching my finger to my nose because you are on the money, my friend. That is, I think that has a lot to do with it.
Nice. Kaitlyn, what do you think? That's wild. 600 G's for a 911 ST for when 911
plus an $18,000 watch.
Was an 18,000. Okay, so
I think it's interesting that the watch is even mandatory at this point. It doesn't really sound like that part doesn't sound like a passion project or really of interest. What if you don't want the watch? What do you do with an $18,000 watch if you don't wear watches? But then again, there's a lot of guys that are into cars and watches, so I'm going to guess their market's going to hit pretty well. But the idea that it's required, they might as well have just added 18 grand to the car and said it's a free watch.
It's sort of like, you know, we'll give you an allocation, but you have to buy the watch. Here's the horrible part. And I have a Porsche design watch. I'm an owner, but they're going to make you pay 18,000 for it. You will never be able to sell that watch for anywhere near 18,000. That'll be a $9,000, $7,000 watch.
It's not even a tag, right? Because it's
a Porsche design. And look, they're fine watches. You know, hey, nothing wrong with them. They're just 18,000 is like, ain't no one craving an $18,000 Porsche design watch.
I was gonna say that's unnecessary.
If it's over $100, it's a watch that I will not be buying. So
you know, you're gonna eat those words one day, but I know what you're saying.
Probably.
No, well, at the same time, you know, Kaitlyn's spending $100 on filling up the tank in the ZL1, which we'll get into in a second.
How much do those nails cost?
These nails, they're about $75 to $80. So I
could normal
for
nails
years, one watch or nails for years, and I'm gonna take my nails all day, every day.
I don't know, man. You're missing out. No.
Well, actually, you know what? We did mention the ZL1. So before we get into Rennsport, before we get into other stuff, because there's questions that I didn't get a chance to go ahead and ask Jonny about last time he was here back in April that I think warrant a great conversation. And then Kaitlyn, because Kaitlyn got her master's in journalism over the summer. Let's go, KRC. Get in there, sister.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to tell the story? I'll start the story and then you'll jump in whenever you want to. For those who may not be, social media plugs real quick, at Jonny Lieberman on Instagram, at krc.auto on Instagram, at Kaitlyn.zl1. I really did enjoy the Kaitlyn no car for a while there. That was great.
Yeah, that was good stuff.
So middle September, Kaitlyn let us know that her black 2SS was stolen, which big shout out to whoever stole that car. I hate you. You're a piece of lard. You know, so you can burn in hell. So for those next few weeks, you know, insurance was happening and whatnot, and basically
Kaitlyn Volkswagen Atlas, which is like rubbing salt in the wound of car.
It really was, and I still have that piece of garbage sitting outside. I haven't returned it yet, but
I'm glad you finally came around.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of the names that you went ahead and gave your imaginary children, and that was fantastic.
Oh yeah, because it's my mom car. I felt like a mom. Yeah,
it was terrific. But I remember
what are the names? What is it? You can't bring up imaginary names.
That's true.
Hunter Lee was one of the basic names I gave, and then it was, I think, like Paxton Jace or something ridiculous like that. I was pretending that I was dropping my kids off at soccer practice. So
there was a Jason the C today at my kids' pickup.
That's wonderful. That's
my nephew's name is Jason.
And it was a Braylon.
Braylon.
It's just terrible.
Unreal.
I don't know what it is.
Shout out to my nephew though. I do love my nephew. He's got a great name.
Spelled his name wrong. All right, go ahead.
But so while this is all going on, I remember I hit up Kaitlyn because actually Kaitlyn was going to be with me on the Hennessy podcast, which if you guys haven't listened to that podcast with Alex Royce from Hennessy, please do so because it was a fantastic interview. But Kaitlyn was going to join me on that, but she couldn't. I was like, well, listen, hey, the GOAT Johnny's coming on. You need to come on with Jonny. So here we are. So it worked out for the best. But
yeah,
I remember you had told me, and this is public information, so you literally have the car, but you said if your car doesn't get back to you in one piece and it's deemed totaled, you're just jumping into a Z. And 3 weeks went by, and Kaitlyn was put up Instagram stories saying like, any recommendations for a car? They need to have 4 tires, 2 doors, and a steering wheel. And I was like, wow, what a great description of an automobile.
Yes, I thought so too.
Fantastic. Kaitlyn No Car with the sense of humor of a 5th grader. I love it.
I tried. Yeah.
So you do that. And then this past Saturday, which would have been the September the 30th, you know, she puts up an I love New York meme as an Instagram story. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting meme to choose from, but I'll take it. And then bada bing, bada boom, we see a Rapid Blue ZL1 being unloaded from a truck. So tell us everything, my friend. First of all, massive congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, the ZL1 has been my dream car since, the 5th gen ZL1 ever came out. When I was like 13, that's the car I always wanted. In my SS, I love that car to death. But, it was stolen from my apartment. Not a very fun feeling. I felt very unsafe for a while. I still kind of do.
Right.
But that was pretty tragic. I was on my way to go. I'm like, I'm going to go get a coffee. Couldn't find my car anywhere. And I go to ask the office. It's like, can you just pull up your security cameras so I don't feel psychotic and I can go find my car? And they're like, actually, it shows someone breaking into it at 4 a.m. and driving off in it. And I said, you're kidding. And my car was gone. And so insurance did their thing, which they're actually still doing their thing. I haven't.
They investigate. They
Yes,
take their time. Yeah,
exactly. And I said, you know what? I was going to wait on a ZL1. I said, this is now my quarter life crisis. I need the ZL1. This is just, now's the time. Why would I go get another SS or why would I wait this out? So
let's be honest for a second, though. This for you is this is a blessing in disguise because I don't know you that well, but you have told me your deepest fantasy is a ZL1.
Yeah.
So by this putz stealing your very nice SS, you actually get your dream car as a result.
I mean, it still cost me more money. It's not like this thing was free suddenly, but
hey, I'm not talking about cost. I'm talking about you no longer.
No, exactly.
Have
it pushed me to it.
Yeah, you have a ZL1, which is
it was a catalyst. It was like, you know what? Screw this. Now's the time. It's now or never. So
do you love it?
Oh my gosh, yes, I love it. It's amazing. It's everything I hoped it would be. I'm so glad I went with Rapid Blue. I wasn't sure at first. I figured maybe I'll go black again. I did the 2SS all black. I said, you know what? This thing's extra special. It's a supercharged V8. It's a 23. The blue looks so elegant. It shows off the body lines. It's kind of ridiculous, but that's why I wanted it. I said, it's more fun. It's more showy. It's more me. And I love blue. So I figured, and it's a little more rare. I don't see a lot of Rapid Blue Camaros out on the road.
I've never seen a Rapid Blue Camaro before. That was my first time seeing it.
I thought they were common simply because I had been following pretty much every single one I found on social media, but I'm like, they're really not everywhere.
I've never seen it's not a ZL1 color. It's a regular Camaro color.
Yes, you can get it on the SS. You can actually get it on like the 4-cylinder.
Because
shout out to the 4-cylinder.
Yeah, nice car. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen a Rapid Blue ZL1. So usually they're red, white, or black.
I know a girl that has one, and she's actually in my area. And I had wanted that before she got it. I said, girl, Kayla, I love your car. I'm obsessed. And then when I got mine, I was like, I hope you're okay. We're going to be twins. I know we're in the same city here. And she's like, no, that's great. We're going to take pictures. I was like, cool.
So there's your plate. Get NOT Kayla, not Kayla.
Not Kayla.
No, okay.
That's the other thing. I didn't get my plate because it was stolen, so I didn't get to have my KRC auto license plate.
Now you get a better plate. New plate.
I did car pics. My new.
I love the new plate. I love the new plate.
Someone told me I should have done it with the Z though, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have done it with the Z.
Well, when this one gets stolen, you can do the next one.
Shut up! God, Johnny. You know what? I'm already living in fear at this point. So not
don't live in fear. Life's too short to live in fear.
That's true.
Yeah, but
and again, something bad happened. insured, you got your dream car. So don't just
I'll just keep over insuring until all of a sudden I'm in a 765 LT or something like that. And
trade up,
I'll be in a Senna before you know it. At this point, I'm a Target, I guess. So
oh my gosh. Don't say that, but at the same time, let's go. I'm kind of like
I'm trying to laugh this off still. So
I'm aware, but I'm really ecstatic for you because again, since I've known you, the ZL1 has been the move. I mean, hell, you were looking at ZL1s over the past like 6 or 7 months, like you know, and so you said it's a 23 plate, which is awesome. How many? I'm assuming it's a used, but it was a used.
Yeah, it had about 2,400. I've already put about 250, 300 miles on it in the last 3 days.
Nice.
But it had 2,400 miles. It was only leased before, but it was leased by a man that babied the heck out of it. Because the other thing about these cars is buying secondhand, you know, the odds of it having been abused prior to owning it are a lot higher. And
for sure,
I did get the 1LE, so I know that this thing wasn't an absolute track monster compared to that one. And the previous owner had apparently taped the whole thing up before he even took it in for oil changes. I said, that's nice.
But do you know how bulletproof those cars are? I mean,
yeah, they are regardless. But you don't want to buy something knowing it was driven to death for the short time, especially if
the amount of, you know, supercharged Corvettes, Camaros, and Cadillacs with that same engine that I've driven over my career. I've only blown up 2 of them, so your odds are good. You know, you'll be fine.
This was my first ZL1 I had driven on the open road. All the clients I've had that have let me drive their cars, I've driven some, not nearly as many wild things as you, Johnny, but just some cool stuff. And I had never driven a ZL1 on the road until owning one, which I find so funny because that's the one car I've always wanted.
But isn't it kind of cool to know the fact that the first ZL1 that you drove is yours? Like that's
I thought about that. And yes, that is a good point because that is how I feel now. I'm like, wow, my first experience, I was like basically tearing up when I drove it we got off the trailer and I just immediately just started hauling ass. I don't know where I was going. I went to my buddy's shop and I just was like, I cannot believe I'm driving this right now.
Nice.
But I've been careful, you know, rear wheel drive and 600 plus horsepower. I didn't want to end up in a ditch day one.
So they're so good.
They're so good.
Oh, it's great. It's been excellent. Even in the rain today. It rained today and I it's still my daily. I don't have a backup car. When it's raining, when it's snowing, when it's whatever, I will be in the ZL1.
Well, for now, you should what you should do is use the Volkswagen while you still have it for your daily, right?
I was going to, and I have no self.
Why? Wait a second. That means you have to drive a Volkswagen Atlas. How horrible.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm an idiot, Johnny. I don't know anything.
Oh, okay.
I have the option and I don't want to. I
don't blame you.
Give it back. Just be like, here. Like, I don't, this is ugly. This is lowering my property values. Get rid of this.
Exactly.
Johnny, let me ask you a question because you've driven many of ZL1s, many of this 6th gen
I went
Camaro.
on the launch of the ZL1. I was the first, like, you know, I don't know, however many a dozen people to drive it, you know.
That's amazing. And so like we're getting close to the end of it. 2024 is supposed to be the last year of the Camaro for Chevy and what at least you know, until they
of Gen 6, yes.
Of Gen 6.
The electric who knows if they'll make a 7 is coming. Yeah.
Electric, if you say electric, it's not a Camaro anymore. So that's just not in the books. It's not a Camaro.
I would say just wait because I know a little bit about the people building these and like, you know, it'll be so good.
Fully electric or hybrid. If you don't get to hear any.
I think fully electric. I think hybrids are sort of they're starting to get a little exposed as sort of like feel good greenwashing. That's really the worst of both worlds. Yeah. It's an EV with no range, and it's a gas engine that's hauling around too much weight because you have an engine and a battery and a gas tank and a transmission. Yeah,
that's
so
fair.
it's true. And the world's going electric. So
it's I mean, hey, you literally got yourself a car that gets
a supercharged V8. I am not going electric. I'm sorry, not right now.
I mean, you can be slow. You can, you know, I mean, your supercharged V8 has like almost 200 less horsepower than my truck. You know,
but I get to hear engine sounds and I get to enjoy my.
I get to hear 4 motors and I enjoy everything about it. Plus,
that's fair. To each their own, Johnny. To each their own.
Plus, it costs me nothing to fill up. I mean, it's fantastic. Plus, I can go off roading in it, and it's quicker in a straight line than your Camaro. I mean, it's a pretty good truck.
You know what? You win. Congrats! I'm so happy.
R1Ts are pretty dope. You know what? At the end of the day, I'm also very happy with my minivan right in front, so it's all good. But Johnny,
no.
I got kids, brother.
I got kids.
It's brother.
No, but I wanted to ask you because as we get to the end of Gen 6, and I've had this conversation a couple different times, but it's nice to go ahead and get different perspectives. You've been a big proprietor of the 6th gen, Johnny, for like the last 7 years. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Like, before,
I wrote the article
Yeah.
when we named it Car of the Year in 2014. I not only voted for it, but I wrote the article explaining why.
Good man.
It's one of the best chassis ever developed.
The Alpha chassis is awesome. Yes.
Yeah, they were ripping off the I think the E46 BMW. And with backseat room they did. But it's just a remarkable product, and it's all engineered so well. And they shot themselves in the foot. I'll break some news on your podcast. So Chevy feels that the redesign in 2019 was so awful that it tanked sales, and that led to there being no seventh gen gas Camaro, because it was such a bad, because the 2014 car and the ZL1, because it needs such a big grill for the cooling, they couldn't redesign it.
Right.
So good looking, just such a handsome machine.
Yeah.
And that 2019, it's a bad design because they redesigned it for 2020.
Right.
So that everybody was like, oh man, we fucked up, because a mediocre design or a middling design, yeah, we can wait 4 years. What's the big deal? But to do that means new tooling,
right,
which is really expensive. That means they were desperate. So they did that to it. And it has a lot of weird knocks, like, quote unquote, you can't see out of it. And I always go back to Randy Popes. Yeah. Well, Randy Popes, I remember, like, someone said that to him once, and he's like, yeah, when he beat a Ferrari 458 time around Streets of Willow in a SS1LE, and he's like, I can see out of it pretty good,
right?
So it's like,
not bad visibility, even if you're 5'3". So
but so people, because the 5th gen, there was problems, you could not see out of it, and it was for a lot of reasons why that was. But
sure,
people just sort of have these stereotypes in their head, and they can't get rid of them, and it hurts sales. And so the Mustang, it was inferior. I've driven the new GT. It's nowhere near as good as a regular Camaro.
The new S650,
yeah.
last Porsche. Okay,
the GT, the 480 horsepower, the non-dark horse V8.
Got it.
It's fine. It's a decent car. It's not the athlete. It's not as much fun to drive as even close to the Camaro. And the 1LE SS1LE just stomps it.
Right.
And almost stomps everything, including the ZL1. I hate to tell you, that's actually my biggest memory of the ZL1 launch. Was we're flying over Angeles Crest, and I'm in 650 horsepower, but there's corners. And so Oppenheiser, who's the chief engineer of Camaro, the father of Camaro, he's on my ass in an SS1LE, and he's a good driver, but he's not that good. And it's just like, damn.
Is it the 1LE the difference? Because it's probably just that it's the track package. You different suspension, but the
there's a bit of a weight difference between a ZL1 and an SS, right, Johnny? Isn't it like 150 pounds, 200 pounds?
Yeah, but it's just look,
it's like two of Kaitlyn's. Yeah,
I'm gonna get the ZL1 1LE next. So I already have a new dream.
I strongly advise against that, unless you're gonna live on a racetrack. That's a miserable street car.
I don't care. I will put up with it.
It's miserable. You don't need it. It doesn't make any.
It's not a need. It's just an absolute desire that I will realize at some point.
I would love to see Paxton and Hunter in the backseat of that ZL1. I'm just throwing that out there right now.
Just like in addition to, because that was my thing was, people are like, well, would you get an SS1LE or a ZL1? And I was always like, both, because at the same time, while the the 1LE is a better driver's car for sure,
right?
Man, the engine of the ZL1 is just like, it's so good. It's just the dumb burnout, so good. It's great. So
I don't have the budget for both. So give me a few years.
You say that now, but remember 2 weeks ago when I was talking to you, you didn't have the budget for a ZL1. So I'm going to say this: you say things that aren't necessarily true. That's all.
Okay, Johnny.
Not that you're lying; you just don't know any better. You're young.
Okay.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Yeah.
Listen,
anyways, congrats on the ZL1.
Yeah,
you have one of my favorite cars. It's awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say this podcast is basically telling Mark and AZ Cycle Parts that they're gonna have to up the salary just a little bit for the 1LE to make it.
For the gas. I mean,
gas sucks. I've already anticipated my monthly and annual budget on that, and it's not pretty. But
I paid $7.09 a gallon today.
Yeah, that's because
Los Angeles is
that state
wild
is
right now.
California's out of control with gasoline.
That's unbelievable. I mean,
it's wild. But $7.09.
I mean, you go to parts of Scottsdale right now, and Kaitlyn, you were here just the other day. Like it was like it's $5. At least over on my side at my local Costco, it's like $4.70 in the west side.
It's $3.90 for premium here.
Oh my God.
Texas has cheap gas. And the horrible thing is it's not even a gas tax. It's like, yes, California has a gas tax. It'll always be a little bit more, but it's just like we had a refinery decide to go offline for maintenance and just because California's gas has to be made. Don't even ask. It's such a stupid thing, but like, even though California is an oil exporter, the state,
right?
The crude oil we use to refine into California quality gasoline has to come from somewhere else, and don't even ask. It's just nuts.
Just chaos.
That's ridiculous. Well, before we move off from the Camaro, I just want there was one thing that you mentioned. I remember the 2019 when they redesigned. Okay, this is gonna sound really controversial. I didn't think it looked that bad, but my thing was, and Jonny and Kaitlyn can both attest to this, Camaro sales were already going down prior to that redesign.
That was you're right? Look, you're absolutely right. And that look, there's just not a lot of sports cars sold. Americans don't buy two doors, we buy SUVs. That's
crossovers, SUVs. Yep.
Mustangs, for whatever reason, they have a cult-like following.
Corvettes do too.
What's that?
Corvettes do as well. Yep.
Yeah, but the sales numbers, I mean, it's such a much more expensive machine.
That's very true.
Four-cylinder version, but people just buy a lot of Mustangs and Challengers. People buy a lot of Challengers. Actually, interestingly, with the Challenger sales, like almost not double, but went up like over 25% when the Hellcat came out. Really like that. But they also make a four-door. You know what I mean? So like,
yes,
Chevy stupidly, because it's Cadillac, is a four-door Alpha. In fact, the CTS-V is a freaking Camaro. It's a four-door Camaro. It's the same engine, transmission, engine computer, chassis, differential, shocks. It's the same car. They could have made a Chevy Impala, whatever, Caprice, and they SS. They could have done it. They just never did. So Dodge, they lump Challenger and Charger sales together. Right. I just don't. Chevy does a lot of weird things. Like, hey, Ford, beautiful white space with the Raptor. Ram says we're going to copy it. Like TRX's fucking sales success, like monster success. GM, hey, look over there. We got nothing. Like it's true. Now, I will say, and I know you guys are going to say EVs, but like the Hummer EV is.
I love it.
If you took everything good about a Raptor and gave it like 300 more horsepower and made it quicker than almost anything and gave it more off-road capability. And I mean, it is so good. So I just think GM's development budget is all going towards EV. This Ultium battery is really crucial for their survival. And they're introducing, I forget what it is, but 24 new models. I drove the new Blazer, unbelievably good for a boring type of car. It competes with the Tesla Model Y, competes with a Mustang Mach-E, but like I think it's bigger inside than a Chevy Tahoe, smaller outside, and silent, and just a cool product.
Can I just say really quickly, big shout out on the Blazer, because co-founder of this podcast, my good buddy Ron Morris, was on that engineering team on the Blazer, and I am so fucking proud of him. I can say that now because it's been announced. And he's probably not going to like that I said that, but sorry, Ronnie, I love you, brother. But seriously, Lieberman's giving you the vote of approval on the Blazer. What up?
They did a really good job. And like, I didn't drive the SS, so there will be a super fast version. Ultium fast. I don't know how fast. I haven't driven it, but like the regular one, like, it's slower than like, say, the Mach-E,
right?
But it's still like 0 to 60 in 6 seconds, which
it's fast, man.
From my generation, I remember when the WRX could go 0 to 60 in 6.1, we were like buying them. We were doing handstands. We couldn't believe how quick that was. So like it's crazy, So and they just made a mature car. It's also, I will say, talk to your boy Ronnie, it's the first car you can buy. There was a van in Europe that could do this, but if you want, you can get it front wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or rear-wheel drive, depending on what you order. It's just totally modular, basically. I don't know what you'd want front-wheel drive, but it probably just costs less money, or it's a weaker motor up front, so it's like the slower version with longer range type thing. just a neat product.
No, that it's
really good job.
Super cool. I'm really proud of him. And again, I'm gonna have to go ahead and double check to see that if I can mention that. But again, he's not on that team anymore. So
yeah, you can.
I think I can.
Why would it be secret? There's a guy named Ron that worked on the Blazer. Like, you can.
He's a very humble individual. Kaitlyn
doesn't matter.
Ron, but no, it's but no, big shout out to Ron and big shout out to GM and whatnot. But again, I will love the 6th gen Camaro forever and a day. I think I mean, I've told Kaitlyn this. I was gonna buy her SS if she ever sold it.
It's on sale right now, Jorge.
It's somewhere in pieces, or it's at some sketchy auction.
You can buy it right now. Yeah.
Go to Mexico. It's probably there. You can buy it there.
Juarez. It's right, just across the street in Juarez. You gotta.
Oh my God, I know.
And then what are those weird taquitos that everybody loves in El Paso? You get some of those.
Oh, flautas. Yeah.
No, but there's like a chain that like it's kind of disgusting because you're basically eating like liquid chili in taquito form.
Gosh.
But it's really good. I went and I was like, I get it. It's one of those things where if you take it home, it's inedible when it's cold, but when it's warm, it's just it's so good. And it's total Tex-Mex. It's like
no, for sure. Listen,
it's not Mexican, it's Tex-Mex.
I'm Puerto Rican, born and raised in Puerto Rico, but raised
so
in
you've had good food.
Yeah. I do have good food, and I'm here to tell you right now. Like I like Tex-Mex, but it doesn't top Sonoran food, and it damn sure doesn't top California Mexican food.
Mexican food is it's
glorious.
Honestly, it would be hard for me to leave LA just because I don't care what anyone says, you can't get tacos like this outside of LA. Like even in San Francisco,
not even in San Diego.
San Diego, they have fish tacos and they have Tijuana style tacos, but we just have such a look. There's 4 million Mexicans in LA or 5 million, whatever. Like we got them, man.
For sure. No, shout out to my Mexican peeps. We're recording this Hispanic Heritage Month, so that's what I'm talking about, man.
I'm gonna go. If it was on my diet, I go eat a burrito, but I can't. I can eat like the meat out of it. Yeah, that's
true. Congratulations. Yeah, I know you've lost.
Oh, congratulations. So miserable. Oh, so awful.
But you look fantastic, brother. You do. I'm not just saying that.
Just, all I do is just eat. I mean, here's how bad this diet is. It's so much protein. If I ate steak and eggs 3 times a day, I'd be 10 grams of protein short of what this guy wants me eating.
Oh my gosh. I know the struggle.
It's just grotesque. Yeah. Plus I'm working out too much. I hate it. Everything hurts and don't get old. I feel it. Secret. Just don't get old.
Trying not to. Really struggling with that, but it is what it is. By the way, you mentioned Champion Porsche earlier. If I'm not mistaken, that's where Spike and Zuckerman got? Was that where they got their?
No, they go to Clearwater.
Clearwater. That's right.
Also,
okay, I
apologize. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Florida filled with awesome Porsche dealers. Who knew? Actually, but so is California. I have 2 friends. Since we're doing shout outs, Bo Bachman, Santa Clara Porsche,
of course.
And CJ Wilson, he's got the Porsche franchise up in, I think he's in Fresno. Yes, my favorite vaccine denying Major League Baseball player, car salesman. He's awesome. So what's up, CJ?
He's a good, I think actually one of his cars might be here in the Phoenix. I don't know if I can say that. I'm going to go ahead and doesn't matter.
He's one of the funniest guys I know. He's a good dude, fun to have.
And he was absolute hell of a baseball player too, by the way.
Yeah, he could throw.
He wasn't too bad.
He could chew tobacco with the best of them. Yes, absolutely.
Let's talk Rennsport because you were up there. How long were you up there? Were you up there the entire?
I was up there. Okay, so I went up a day early because I got to drive the first Porsche, and I don't mean like the first type of Porsche. I mean the chassis first one. Like wow, that's it. That's the first one. It was built in May. Actually, who knows how long it took to build it, but it was registered for road use June 8th. 1948, and then the second one, and it was mid-engine. It was weird. It was a mid-engine roadster, and then the second one was sold like a week later to a woman whose last name, oh god, I knew her name. It was a funny name. Anyways, I can't remember her name, but so the second ever Porsche customer was female, but the first, a Swiss dude who was into racing, bought it. And he instantly started modifying it to make it, racier. And then the 550 Spider came out, and he wanted to look like that.
Right.
Then this guy, von Frankenberg, said, we should probably get that back. So he traded him a Porsche Speedster, a 356 Speedster for it in 1957. But because the guy had changed it, they didn't know what to do with it. It was a one-off prototype. The styling buck was long destroyed. They had the blueprints, but they were a tiny company in 1957 with no money. they weren't what they are today, that's for sure. And so it just sort of sat. And then in 2018, for the 70th anniversary, they decided to take the blueprints, build a buck, and build an exact replica of the one that left the factory, but honor the modification, the restoration, or honor the the modifications that this guy did, the homebrewed stuff, and leave this one as is. For the most part, they did a couple things. So it's sort of in between what it was when it came back and what it looked like when it left the factory. And so the replica, you can go visit it right now. It's at the Peterson Museum. They have a 75 years of Porsche exhibit, or 75 years of Porsche in California exhibit. And the replica, it doesn't drive, doesn't have an engine, but it's there, and it looks exactly like this car that I drove did. And then I drove this thing, which everyone's like, how's it drive? And I'm like, that's not what I was thinking about. I was thinking about like, it's priceless.
Yep.
Like, boy, my dad, if he was here, he'd really be proud of me. Like, I've done all right in life. Like stuff like that. I wasn't, it's had pretty good brakes, surprisingly, but
it's one of those priceless experiences. I mean, I'm bringing it up right now, and I'll definitely go ahead and show it off once I go ahead and put up the post for this episode. It's Jonny, the best way to describe it from a looks perspective, and Kaitlyn, have you seen the car? I think you've seen it. Can you see it right there? Yeah. It's a cross between a 356 and a 550 Spider. That's the best way to describe it.
And again, that's what this one looked like. If you go to the Peterson website or just Google Porsche one, like it does look a little different. And so this thing is referred to, if you spell it out for Google, it's 356/1, the number one. And it's just a bizarre, it's mid-engine. They went with rear engine for a lot of reasons. But it's hard to explain like how rare it is for a giant like Porsche to have their first product. Like Ferrari number one's gone. Mercedes has number two. They don't have number one. There's no first Chevy. There's no first Ford. There's no first Dodge. There's, first Lamborghini might exist, but that was in the 60s. You know what I mean? So for something, for a major player, to have I guarantee the first Honda, Toyota, Nissan, I guarantee they don't exist, because why would they? And so it was just this freaky thing that this one guy, von Frankenberg, said we should probably get it back, and he got it back and saved it. So I asked a friend of mine who's a professional appraiser, I said, what's it worth? Because it's not
Can we all take guesses? Can we take guesses?
Oh, well, okay. Take guesses, but yes, go ahead. Take guesses.
Sure. Caitlin, I'll let you go first. What do you think?
Oh my goodness, I don't even know what to throw out there.
Well, here, I'll give you a baseline. So a Ferrari 250 GTO, the last one that sold for crazy money, and there's 23 of them. 33 of them, I can't remember. 33 of them sold for 70 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was an Uhlenhaut coupe. So it was an SLR streetcar coupe. Rudy Uhlenhaut was the chief engineer of Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes had two of them. They sold one for about 130 million euros. So
that was last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 140 million bucks, something like that.
Oh
but there's two of them. They still have one, and that car is not from 1948. That car was from 1955 or 54.
Yeah, didn't Sterling Moss drive that car at like?
Uhlenhaut has no. It's like this car in that it has no history. It was.
Oh, okay.
They made the SLR is chassis number W196. They made 10 race cars, I want to say. And Sterling Moss not only raced one of them, but set the all-time mark in the Mille Miglia. He did 1,000 miles in 10 hours and 7 minutes, which it's the greatest feat in the history of athletics. It'll never be duplicated. It'll literally stand forever. Not only because they shut down the Mille, but because nobody takes as much crystal meth as the drivers used to in those days for endurance races.
That's true. Speedballs were crazy back then, bro.
Before he died, I talked to Sterling, and I'm like, tell me about it. And he's like, well, all I really remember was the race was over, we won, and then we hopped in the car and drove it back to Stuttgart from Brescia, Italy. I'm like, weren't you tired? And he goes, oh, they had us on so many goofballs. I didn't sleep for days. So
wow.
But everybody did it. It wasn't just
I get you. I mean, that's what they did back when the Le Mans, like when they would just do one driver for 24 hours.
There was one guy that did a 24-hour stint. Yes, now you're limited to 4-hour stints. But yeah, there was one dude who did a 24-hour
wild stint, dude.
Which you need chemical assistance to do that.
Yeah,
100%. I mean, I've done a 16-hour day, and I'm like, I'm dead. I'm done.
Yeah, but again, he averaged, and again, you got to understand, this is 1950. 7. Did he do
Yeah.
this? Oh boy, it was the last year. It might have been 55. It's 55.
Okay.
And they averaged like 99.8 miles an hour or something.
That's
And again,
fast.
the tire technology back then was zero.
It's plywood.
They didn't have, they like Dennis Jenkinson, who was the passenger. He invented rally notes for the race because everyone else drove solo. Sterling Moss didn't really know Italy that well.
Yeah.
Manuel Fangio, by the way, this is also a great feat. He was second place, also in an SLR. He was like 30 minutes later, but he drove by himself. They actually had notes, and he had these 2 giant scrolls, like a big Torah that, Jenks was like winding on some homemade machine. And,
wow.
And I remember, if you ever get a chance, if I can leave the audience with anything, Google the Dennis Jenkinson's account of the Mille Miglia, because not only did he sit next to Sterling the whole time and everything, but he wrote it, still hopped up on goofballs in the car on the way back to Stuttgart. He banged the article out. That Sterling told me that, and it's online. You can find it. It's in like Sports Car Illustrated or something, but it is the best piece of automotive journalism ever written, bar none. Nothing second place.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. So
I don't think people. Yeah.
So the street version of that, which never raced, and they built 2 of, sold for like 140 million.
That's crazy. I don't think people understand the amount of
Kaitlyn's
joy that I'm getting out of right now.
I'm sorry. I kind of big.
No. It's okay. It's all right, because I'm just also like having a mark out moment of like, this is incredible stuff. I'm sorry, Kaitlyn. I need to bring myself down. Go ahead. Give me your guess, for the love of God.
I'm hearing 70 million. I'm hearing 140 million. I'm going to guess 80, 90 million, something like that. Which would make me wonder why your thought wasn't like, oh my gosh, I can't crash this car. Like that's what my thought would be if I was getting to drive it. It would just be
it's owned by Porsche. They got a whole team of mechanics. They can bang it out. It's not
exactly.
Yeah, I guess that's just terrifying.
To me, the very first Porsche of all time is more important than a 250 GTO, respectfully. So I would have to say, gosh, I almost want to say I could see that being 100 mil. I could see it being 100 mil.
So my friend who's no one has any idea. They're never going to sell it, because I asked I asked Ferdy Porsche. He's got a pretty famous great grandfather, and I asked him. I said, what would you sell it for? And he goes, well, we're not Mercedes. We don't sell our priceless cars. But
I love that.
my friend who's an appraiser, I said, and he said, well, it's definitely not worth as much as the Ullenaup Coupe for a lot of reasons. Blah blah blah. And he goes 20 to 50 million, and I go 20 to 50 million. Like,
it's a bargain, dude.
Commit. And he goes, okay, you're right. 35 to 70 million. So it is worth between 1 and 100 million, because nobody has any idea, and they're never going to sell it. So it's sort of a moot point. But
yeah.
So anyways, that was a long way of saying that's what I did one day. Rennsport started on Thursday, and it was kind of a quieter day. And if you like Porsches, it's a lot of fun. I just kept walking around going like, where are the Corvettes? Where are the Corvettes? But nobody thought that was funny. And
where's the Camros?
Yeah, with the Camros, totally, yeah. But yeah, it's pretty overwhelming. I mean, it's we went to this one tent, so it's there's races going on the whole time. So you're going to say, the whole paddock is turned into a bunch of temporary pits, and people are just racing, and they have all different kinds of racing. Anything from, they did a tractor race with Porsche tractors. They did a 356 race. They did like the fiberglass car race, so like 906s and 908s and stuff like that. They did 917s. They had 956s and 962s on track. They had modern cars, they had everything racing. But there was this one tent, and so my buddy, I don't know if you guys know Jethro Bovington, but my buddy,
of course, the GOAT Jethro Bovington, of course,
the actual GOAT. Yeah, he's a real GOAT. So Jethro's like, hey mate, is it fun? You having fun looking at all the 911? So I just kept sending him pictures of 959s, because he doesn't like the way 959 looks, because he's mentally deranged. And so I was going to get pictures of more 959s for him, and I find a green one, and I look and like, oh wait, there's a roof Yellowbird sitting there. Right. Oh wait, there's a yellow Carrera GT next to a silver Carrera GT. Oh, with a 959. Oh, and then an orange Carrera GT, and then another silver Carrera GT. Oh, and there's another 959. Oh, and here's a Rod Emery 356. Look, just if I turn around, a Carrera GT, 918, and a 959 parked with it. You know what I mean? Like it was just on another roof, 5 959s in the corner,
Yeah.
3 Emerys, you know, and it was just this like insane tent. They were just all parked in a tent. I mean, it was just, I was like flipping out,
It's
you know?
not normal, man.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So not normal.
And it's super fun. And then probably the best moment for me was on Friday, my buddy Jeff, who has a really nice touring, he bought a passenger lap. So passenger, I think it was like $67 to do a passenger lap, and it's cool. You
That's,
actually get,
I'm sorry, that's worth it to me 100%.
oh, $67. Come on,
Yeah.
blow that on soda. But he's, or at a movie theater. Anyways, you actually get 2 decent laps. Although my friend Chris and his slow ass 912 engine 356 was in front of us, and Mr. Hansel, you ruined our fun. But anyways, and his wife didn't want to get up that early because he had to be there like at 6:30 to like register and driver's meeting. So I said, you know what, I'm here. Like, why not? How fun is that? And it was just a special moment. It was just like, for my friend, it really meant a lot because he's a Porsche fanatic. I like Porsches as much as I like a lot of other cars. Or, I like certain models a lot. I hate Macans, I hate base Cayennes, blah, blah, blah. But for him, it's all about Porsche. And it was just a real fun, special moment. So, and they say, it's called Rennsport Reunion because it's not just that you're getting the cars together, but the people get together. And you don't realize, because I've been doing this a long time, children, you don't realize how many good friends you make. And for me, that, aside from what I did with Jeff, like just seeing everybody was just so much fun. And it was awesome. It was really, really fun.
I've heard, and people in the Porsche community have been incredibly kind to me. I know that for a fact they've been kind to Kaitlyn, the amount of 911 owners that she's dealt with, with her photography and everything. There's something about the Porsche community that I don't know what it is. The fact that you can have a CGT or a 918 owner, and then you can have a Boxer and a Cayman owner, like a base, 986 owner. And like they get it. It's like they get it. It's like they're cool with one another. And you don't get that type of thing between other brands and every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. And just, I was talking to my friend yesterday who he used to work for Porsche. So he'd been to Rennsport. Now he works for a battery company, but we were talking about Porsches, and he's like, and that's the problem. They're just so fucking good.
Right.
Just, they're just, and I'm like, yeah, it really is a problem, because like we were talking about, oh, the ST, wow, really, when the GT3 manual do 99% of what an ST does. And like, we're both like, man, I really want a GT3 manual. Oh, like here we are. We've become the people we swore not to become,
Yeah.
And it happens like, as I think to almost all car journalists, because you close your eyes and think about some of your favorite driving moments, and a lot of them are in Porsches, it turns out.
100%.
In the 2 doors, not so much in the 4 doors. But sometimes
I'm sure you could go ahead and have a good time in a Panamera. Let's be real.
I've had some. It's not,
if you were cannonballing a Panamera from New York to Phoenix or New York to LA, you'd probably be having a grand old time.
Sure, but I've done, I did a Turbo S from Atlanta to LA. Much better time.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, you PJ O'Rourked it. That's so cool.
I actually I was talking with Clink here earlier, but I actually stopped at Hennessy, and he had a 700 horsepower CTSV coupe, and we just did like 25 drag races in a row, and like
so good.
The Hennessy Cadillac was so powerful he couldn't use first gear, so it was just second gear. But the Porsche killed it every single time. It was all-wheel drive is a drag strip advantage. So.
It's wild that the three of us can talk about Hennessy and actually have some sort of like interesting relationship with them like that. I wouldn't have never imagined that 2 years ago when I started this podcast. I'm kind of going through it right now.
I know I'm talking too much, and we gotta let Clink speak, but like John's a good dude. And I will say this, the dudes that said all the bad stuff about Hennessy, they're scumbags. And a couple of them are like stolen valor motherfuckers who told me to my face repeatedly they were in the Marines, and all lies. So they're just lying about everything. And like what John was accused of is like, he put new headers on my car and he sold the old headers. Guess what every shop in America has done since the dawn of time? They sell the old shit that you don't need anymore. Everybody does that. Everybody does that. So it was character assassination of a nice, decent family man, is what I would say.
I got all the respect in the world for John Hennessy. I mean, and I said this on the podcast with Alex. John to me is the modern day Carroll Shelby.
except he's honest. I mean, yeah,
sure, yeah, no.
and John Hennessy has sold over 10,000 vehicles, or way over 10,000 vehicles. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Shelby ever sold anything near that except for like a rebadged Ford. This is the Hennessy actually tuning them in his shop. 10,000 cars have come out of there. And they're great. You know,
they're fantastic.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you know what, Daddy Clink, you say that the 1LE is your next dream car. I say, screw the 1LE, jump to an Exorcist. Boom.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
that's
I almost shot one of those because Jack Ultramotive, the YouTuber, has a Hennessy ZL1, and that thing is just wicked. I mean, they are insane cars. But talking about the fact that this is my daily driver, though, I imagine daily driving a machine with that much power. How epic and terrifying and amazing would that be? But
I mean, you'd be fine on the power. I know a guy. I know this guy, John Hennessy. I can call him.
I know a guy.
Do what we can do.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
There you go.
Maybe it'll happen. I'll add that to my bucket list of things I need to do.
Because I think even if it's not an Exorcist, I think like a pulley and a chip, and that engine can bang out a lot of power, and
big time.
And rear end can handle it.
Yeah.
I would say an 800 horsepower ZL1 is like I think that's the
perfect
in a weird way sweet spot. That
would nearly be as much horsepower as my pickup truck. So
oh my gosh, I don't want to hear it, Johnny.
By the way, speaking of big horsepower, because Kaitlyn, for her 24th birthday, which she would have celebrated just a couple of months back, I already wish you a happy birthday, but happy belated anyways, my friend. You're here now, so there you go. Kaitlyn, a lot of us saw what you were up to, but maybe some people might be listening to this podcast for the very first time, not knowing who Daddy Clink is. So let them know what was one of the projects that you went ahead and did with AZ Cycle Parts that you went ahead and just did up in Indiana back in August.
Yeah, so we went to Shift Sector, which was a pretty awesome event, and we're headed to another Shift Sector event in Abilene. But my boss, Mark Rao, he has various underground racing builds, but he brought out his silver twin turbo STO to Indiana, and we had some serious goals for that event, and we hit them. And he hit 258.1, I'm not quite sure, miles per hour.
Wow.
On his hang on. You gotta tell the story right. He hit 258 point whatever miles per hour in a half mile.
Yes, it was in a half mile. I was getting there. I was gonna make that the punchline.
It was a half.
Yes, it was insanely epic. It was.
And if I may,
go ahead.
An STO is a rear driver. It's not an all-wheel drive car. So that's that's gotta be like close to 2,500 horsepower or something.
Yeah.
That's like a huge amount of power.
That's big numbers.
Insane. Yeah,
that's funny car. I mean, a funny car, 3,000 horsepower. It does. Oh God, it does a quarter in
4 seconds, maybe
3. 4 seconds. Around there, 250, something like that, in a quarter.
Gnarly.
But you're getting into funny car territory with a street car. So
yeah, it was pretty epic, and we're shooting for 260 at this next event.
I mean, it's right there for the taking.
Yeah, exactly. We were this close. We just didn't want to push it. We said, you know what, this is how we want to leave off. We want to leave off on a good note. We want to leave off with the car intact. We want to leave off with everything set. And 258.18, I believe, is what I'm actually remembering now, was a pretty epic number. And we hit that goal, especially since he had not really gotten a lot of seat time prior to the event. So it was kind of like hopping in, getting that done was just.
Did you get a ride in that car, Kaitlyn?
I did not, because we were being very careful with our passes just to make sure that we were using them all for the best, and passengers can only go up to 180.
Don't get a ride. That's such an extreme speed. And look,
that's true.
If I may humble brag, I've gone 245 miles an hour in my life.
Yes,
we know what that was in.
Yeah, it was in a Chiron. Super Sport. No, not Super. Yeah, Super Sport. Anyways,
we talked about it on this pod actually last time.
Okay, sorry, I do a lot of pods.
No, it's okay.
I did 2 today earlier. It's dangerous, and 258 that quickly, because I did 245 in like, I don't know, 10 miles it took to get up to that speed or something.
Right.
Half mile. I mean, that's
passengers at these events are only allowed to go up to 180 miles an hour. So that's
which is already right.
No, that's super slow. I mean, it's no big deal, really, right?
Yeah. Well, by the way, we're getting on where I gotta go in a second. But I had my good friend Jamie Morrow, who's a pro race car driver / maniac who hangs out in the right seats of like Bugattis and Paganis and cars like that. And he stayed in the car till 200. And then he's like, I'm not getting paid enough to go 250. And he got out. And that was a big, like, Bugatti was like, no, we need you to be in the car. And he's like, no, like, absolutely not. So 180, as silly as it sounds, is a much safer speed than, I'm just telling you, like I don't know what it is, like 230 and up, things just get weird. And you're, you know, at 200, what was it, 250 miles an hour, right? Which I never quite got to, but you do, I want to say, a football field in 1 second.
100 yards in a second is
kind of
crazy.
visualize that is
but like, so your boss was going quicker.
Yeah. Actually, by the way, I said 100 yards. It's actually technically 120 because you've got the end zone to end zone, right?
I think what they told me was it was 100 meters, which is 330 yards or something like that. I don't know metric, but I think it was a football field, not the end zone, but still it's 100 yards in a second one, and you've gone in a car. So
that's
wild.
Absolutely wild. Well, then I know that both of you have to go ahead and wrap it up tonight a little bit earlier, and that's perfectly fine because I think that we've actually had a really fun time, and I don't even know how long we've been recording, but it's all good. But Jonny, one of the things that I wanted to ask you last time, and I didn't get a chance to, but you know, I'm just curious to know, and Kaitlyn, I don't think I've ever asked you this either, so I'll ask Jonny first, but you've been at this game for a long time. What was your inspiration in journalism, and what's been the inspiration as you continue? How do you keep it fresh?
That part's really hard. I'm struggling with that. I think I am getting to the point where it's almost been 20 years of doing this, and I am struggling to keep it fresh. It really is getting harder and harder for me to write. Now I'm doing videos again, and I'm doing a lot of podcasting, so I think maybe the way I am creative is kind of like shifted. I still love writing. I'm having a harder time. It was never a struggle before for me ever. And as far as like inspiration, I mean, I just grew up reading car magazines and just really loved reading about cars, and then specific people. I mean, there's a guy I'm actually lucky enough to be friends with, Jamie Kitman, who worked for Automobile for forever and ever, and now he's doing stuff for like Jalopnik and Car and Driver and Road Mat. Phenomenal writer, just so sharp, and also like was politically there. There was a lot of guys in this business I think are politically just out to lunch, and he wasn't afraid to be bold. You know, he'd just say stuff. He's like, look, you know, if it wasn't for, you know, blacks in the 1930s, Cadillac wouldn't be a brand.
Right.
You know, and like almost no one else would be brave enough to write that. And it was just because if you were black, you know, in the 30s and 40s, nobody would sell you a house, but they'd sell you a Cadillac because you could drive it out of their neighborhood. You know, you wouldn't be living next to him. You wouldn't be parking next to him. And so you read his stuff and you get a good history of what the automobile scene was like. So Jamie, the guy who hired me, Angus McKenzie, I've always really respected his writing. And just his way he sees the world. He said two things to me that have shaped me. And Kaitlyn, I know I'm talking a lot and it's getting late, but since he asked, he said two things that really shaped me. And one was nothing we write is sacrosanct. And what that means is like, you're not writing the Bible. You are writing about a car. If an editor is going to make a change, it's okay. You know, don't fight, because a lot of people are like, oh, you changed my headline, I will. Now I might have swung too far in the other direction. It's like, it's published, I'm done with it. But you know, there is a balance. There's a happy balance there.
Right.
And then the other thing he taught me, which I think is hard, especially for the hot takes crowd and TikTokers and all that crap, is, you know, instead of going into a car review wanting to hate it and then being surprised when it's good, approach it that you want to love it and you're disappointed when it's not good.
I remember you telling me that last time. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that was for me, was really instrumental, and it really, I think helped me in my career quite a bit. And then this guy Dan Neal, Dan wrote for the LA Times, and he was probably just the best pure writer that we had. And he won a Pulitzer Prize for criticism, the first automotive critic to ever win a Pulitzer.
That's awesome.
And he, I will say, for whatever reason, I have no idea why, but he sort of, in a weird way, took me under his wing when I was getting started, and like would talk to me and would spend time with me, and like there's no reason he should have, absolutely no reason. I don't know why, but I could like always, email or call him, get career advice. And he gave me some of the best advice I ever got. And not like in terms of writing, but just like, what should I be doing? Should I go to Motor Trend type thing? Should I go here? Should I go there? And so those guys were really good. And then there's one last one I can't always have to mention, Davey Johnson, who was really the guy.
R.I.P. Davey Johnson.
But it was Davey that found me, shall we say. And again, just in terms of pure writing ability, like go Google, it's on Car and Driver. And I know as a Motor Trend guy, I shouldn't say this, but Google Car and Driver, Davey Johnson's review of the Rolls-Royce Phantom. There is no better car review. Dennis Jenkinson is the best thing in the history of automotive journalism, but he's not reviewing a car. He's talking about a race. Davey Johnson's Rolls-Royce Phantom review, where he uses it as an Uber around San Francisco.
Right.
It is just like just uncut, undistilled car writing. It's so wonderful.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Kaitlyn, I know what's been your car inspiration to you, because we've talked about it so many times. Bumblebee, obviously, there's the reason why you love Camaros and whatnot. I know your dad. Big shout out to the real daddy Clink. Kurt Clink is amazing. I know he's been such a big inspiration to you, but like from, you not a lot of people know not only your marketing background, but you also have a journalism degree, which is fucking awesome. But so what's been your inspiration from like the marketing, automotive and just automotive media in general? Like, I've known you for 2 years and I've never asked you that question.
And I've never been asked that question. Let's see. So thinking about my inspiration in journalism and marketing and all the above, just outside of directly in cars, right?
Yeah. Just automotive media in general. Yeah.
I would say that I had actually a professor, which, as weird as it sounds, at least just from my educational standpoint, that was like a huge inspiration. That was someone that was into cars, into marketing, and had a successful career. And I said, you know what, it's possible to combine both of those, because I wanted to find a way to use my education in the automotive industry. And I said, is this going to be something I can find a career in? Is this something I can utilize? Am I just going to end up at an agency and I'm not going to ever get to use my passion with cars? And I had a professor that basically affirmed that for me, that it's possible to have both and to do well in that and to find a place and be successful in it all at once. But in terms of people in marketing and advertising in the automotive industry, I'm not quite sure if I have an inspiration yet, if I'm being totally honest.
You're so young though. Like, you are the inspiration.
Well, I look at other photographers and I say, you know what, they've been able to grow a brand for themselves and that kind of thing. And that inspires me a lot. So seeing as like photographers where you mentioned their name and like
Larry Chen,
I was just about to say Larry, like that's something that it's like, they are so well known and they've developed their career and portfolio and have so many amazing things to share, and people know them for certain things, that it's just like, that's what I really want for myself one day. And that takes a lot of skill outside of photography, and to be able to develop a career like that and have that kind of success. And it might not be marketing for someone else, it's marketing for yourself. And oftentimes you can use that for brands. I mean, that's half the battle. It's, your clients want to use your work for their campaigns. And so it all ties together. But just looking at some of my favorite photographers and seeing that they are so well known. I mentioned a name and people have heard that before. I was like, one day I want that to be able to be me, if it's possible.
Can I tell you something? And I think it's hysterical that Jorge here keeps calling me the GOAT, but I didn't publish a word about cars until I was 30.
Yeah.
So you got your time
is your time.
You got a great career ahead of you. And I think you have the talent to get there. So
I second that.
I second that. With it, and when I was 25, I cold called Motor Trend. I was out of a job. I cold called, I don't know, just because they were in LA, and they were like, "Oh, you'll never work for us."
Wow.
Who it was the schmuck who answered he's like, never. Yeah, if you're not already in the business. And Yeah. So don't let anyone tell you no. Don't let anyone tell you can't.
Mhm.
Are you going to make mistakes? Yes. And you've all heard old people say this, but like, man, taking a chance is like, unless you die, and usually you don't, you get back up again and try something else, And
Yeah.
like, I remember I got hired early in my career. I got hired by Edmunds for 4.5 days, and for God knows why they fired me after 4.5 days. And I remember just like not being suicidal, but like so depressed about it. Like I couldn't tell my family. I couldn't tell. I think I told my girlfriend. They fired me on Valentine's Day. I definitely told my girlfriend.
Oh.
But like it was like the lowest. Now I look back, I'm like, thank fucking God I got fired by Ed. Like, like, and I'll tell you one more thing. I'll leave you with this, and I won't mention their names, and neither's with Edmunds anymore. But I remember on the interview when they were hiring me at Edmunds, they said, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to be like well known within the car community, kind of like a Jamie Kitman or a Dan Neal." And these two motherfuckers looked at each other and started laughing, like And I remember just sitting there. I'm like, I will bury the both of you. I will go do a burnout on your fucking graves and write about it, because like you do not get to do that to me. No way.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
yeah.
No, and then here we are.
Yeah.
Over 20 years later, senior feature
Well,
editor,
that was about 17.
or 17 years ago, but like look where you are and look what you represent. You're one of the biggest names in automotive media, and I'm not sucking up to you. You know what you are, and you know what you bring to the table.
They let me drive the first Porsche. How about that?
Exactly my point. Exactly my point.
Yes.
And then then Kaitlyn, is literally not even 25 yet, and already a marketing director at one of the bigger shops in Arizona. Kaitlyn, for a school project, did a podcast and got Jonny Lieberman and Larry Chen on a podcast. Fuck out of here!
That was so fun.
Like that's
and Mike Schaefer. Let's not
Mike Schaefer, like Capital Sunset. Yeah, like
let's not forget the real photographer here.
Yeah,
that's true.
And I bring these all up because I guess this is more motivation to anybody else who might be listening to this podcast. It's motivation to me. Second season in, and I've the amount of stuff that we've been able to do is crazy.
There's everyone in the world. They if you die tomorrow, they won't care that much. So you just got to really look out for yourself.
Yeah.
But also, I had this experience where I always said, I want to really like help others, and this was, I was when I was in college, I was I majored in like religion and philosophy, but at first I was minoring in music. I really like if my 16-year-old self saw what I was doing, he'd be like, "You loser! Like, why aren't you playing bass?" And I had this bass. It wasn't even a teacher of mine, but he was a teacher in the school, and they did a faculty concert, and he did this. I remember some of the song "Vicissitudes," just an amazing song. And I walked up to him after the show, and he was like sitting on a planter having a cigar. And I was like, I forget his name already. I could look it up. I was like, I just got to tell you, man, like Vicissitudes is one of the greatest songs I've ever heard. It was so cool, blah, blah, blah. And he looks at me and goes, "Are you a music major?" And I go, "No, I'm a minor." And he just stands up and walks away and doesn't look at me. And I quit music. I stopped being a music minor, and I really regret it. So like I always said now, like, anyone who shows any interest in anything, I'm gonna, if I can, I'll help out, because like that guy really took a lot away from me just by saying nothing, and being a prick unnecessarily. You know what I mean? And like, it's everything. Everything's practice. Like if you want to be a car photographer, start shooting cars. If you want to write about cars, start writing about cars. You only get better with practice.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, this has been an amazing podcast. And it brings me so much. I told everybody it was going to be spicy right from the very get-go. So there you go. Before we go ahead and wrap this up, I want to go ahead and thank the both of you for hanging out with me tonight on a Tuesday night. I know that you guys could have been doing. Kaitlyn could be sleeping right now, and she's probably going to go to bed in just a second. And Jonny could be, he could be podcasting with Matt Farah. Or he can
I was talking to Matt today. Yeah. October 24th. I'm podcasting with Matt. Yeah.
Love it.
No, I got to finish this glass of whiskey and like write a review about it. So
Oh, there you go. Perfect. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. For Kaitlyn, you can go ahead and find her at krc.auto. You can find her at Kaitlyn.zl1. If you want some portraits, go check out krc.portraits. Got to give them all out, you know.
I got a lot of them.
And yeah, we're not going to give her personal out tonight. We did that last time and we laughed. And we don't need to do that. And then, of course, you can go ahead and find Jonny Lieberman at Jonny Lieberman. Go check out Spike's Car Radio, him, Spike, Zuckerman.
Also, that's good. We also have the Inevitable.
I was going to say that next. Yeah, of course.
We got
Head to Head is back.
Head to Head.
So hyped for that, dude.
Yeah,
you and Jeff Glucker
yesterday. We had a BMW competition against a Kia EV6 GT, which sounds weird until you drive the cars, and then you're like,
Hi. You're talking to a Kia evangelist, baby. Go Kia. Go Kia. Let's go.
Hey, I will just say the EV6 GT is 576 horsepower, not quite ZL1 territory, but 576. Right. And it's like $62,000 with a warranty.
That's really good. A 5-year powertrain warranty. Or no, more than that. 10-year. I forget. Yeah. Jeez.
And it's an EV. Nothing will go. There's nothing to break. So
exactly.
So anyways, thanks, man. Jorge, awesome as always. And
I appreciate you guys.
We're hanging out like this week coming up, Saturday, Sunday. We'll figure it out.
You call me, man. We'll make it happen. I will literally tell my job that I'm getting off early on a Saturday.
No.
Oh no.
Don't do that. Okay, fine.
When Lieberman calls, you show up. Like that's just how it is. Of course, you can
Kaitlyn,
go ahead.
You coming to town?
I wish. I will not be there. Although that would have been a blast.
I think you should. Eat the taco meat out of a taco, and not eat the corn.
I was gonna say you should cannonball the ZL1 out here
next time, though. Yeah, I could mob the ZL1 around. That'd be fun.
That'll be cheap.
Exactly. There you go. But plus we have okay gas prices compared to LA, so you can go ahead and make it out here, no problem, Kaitlyn. That's all good.
Anything's better than California prices.
100%. Yes. Shout out to every single resident of Los Angeles is having to go ahead and pay $6 or $7 a gallon.
Dude,
my God, that's unreal. But you can go ahead and also catch Tormenting Tarmac on Instagram. We are at Tormenting Tarmac. You can go ahead and find us anywhere streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, all that good stuff. Leave a review, leave us a star rating. And go read Jonny, go listen to Jonny, go watch Jonny, go look at Kaitlyn's pictures. Seriously, somebody asked me the other day, they were like, you really like Kaitlyn's pictures? I was like, yeah, I fucking do, because she's one of the young legends out there. So
I appreciate you.
Yeah, well, you're the GOAT. You're my homie. So that all being said, on behalf of Kaitlyn Clink, Daddy Clink herself, and of course the GOAT Jonny Lieberman, my name is Jorge Aquino, and you have been listening to what I believe to be is the 63rd installment of Tormenting Tarmac, and it's where the podcast where the enthusiasts. Awesome. I know, right? Like, shout out to us. Like, we're not dead yet. People are still coming on. Why? I don't know.
That's great, man. That's. I mean, I think with the Inevitable, and again, we have a whole. We have people that book the shows. We got a whole thing. I think we recorded our 65th today, so 63rd is like you're sticking with it. I'm
trying to, man. I just want people. Man. I'm just
You're
trying.
Doing the thing. You're doing the thing.
I said 63rd, 64th. Excuse me. So 64th. Almost there at the Inevitable. Perfect. I'll take it. Boom. Shout out to you. Shout out to Jonny and Ed Lowe. That all being said,
leave Ed Lowe out of it. He's we don't want to bring this podcast down.
No, I'm just kidding. But thanks, guys. I appreciate you. To everybody listening, we appreciate you listening. I hope you guys enjoy this one with Jonny and with Kaitlyn. My name is Jorge Aquino. Tormenting Tarmac is where the podcast where the enthusiast never dies. Have a great night, everybody.